Video I'm going to be showing you how to create these acrylic engraved rose garden tags. Obviously you can use these for anything, it doesn't have to be roses. You can even use them for table markers at a wedding or nameplates. But I'm going to show you the technique and then you can do with it what you like. The first thing you want to do is set up your SVG file. I'm using the Silhouette software, the business software. This allows me to create and save SVGs. You can also use Photoshop as well. I'm sure there are other options, but this is the option that I chose. If you don't have access to these softwares or don't have the time to figure them out, I totally understand. I will have a link to my blog where I will have a template for the tag blanks that you can download for free. Okay, so I start out by making a rounded edged rectangle, and I use sizes 4" in width and 1.5" in height. And I also make a smaller one that's 3" in width and 1.5" in height. And so after I do that, I'm also going to add a circle towards the top of each of the rectangles. That'll be where the tags hang from the little hook pole. And so for that, I'm using a height and width of 0.187 inches. And so you can even make it a little bit smaller. Once I do that, I'm going to group the circle and the rounded edge rectangle to each other so that when I move it around, they'll all stay together. Now for the wording that's going to go on each tag, I am using the font Shine Brighter, and since it is a script font, you have to weld this font. So you select the entire text and then you're going to right click and choose weld. It's not showing it on the computer screen. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's how you make sure that your script lines where they overlap actually look smooth instead of being jointed. Okay, so then I'm going to arrange it the way that I want it to look and then change the color of the font. So you do not want your text and your tag to be the same color when you're creating an SVG. You want to make sure that the tag is one color and your text is another, because when it comes to importing it to your GlowForge and having the GlowForge know what to cut and what to engrave, they have to be separate. Okay, so once I change the color, I'm going to shrink down that size, make sure it fits into the tag, and that's that. Arrange it so it's centered and looks good. And then the client who ordered these, she wanted, I think, 7 of this particular tag. So I'm just gonna essentially duplicate it over and over until I have 7 of these tags, arrange them on the sheet. It doesn't really matter how you arrange them, as long as they're not overlapping. And it won't really matter like how they look on the sheet. It does not have to be perfect. It does not have to be like lined up really well. As long as they're all in that white space, that's all that matters. All right, so I'm just making sure that all of my tags have the right names, the right sizes, and placing them onto the sheet. After I've arranged everything, I'm going to save this as an SVG, and then I'll be able to import it into my GlowForge software. The next step is laying out the acrylic into the cutting area of my GlowForge. Now I'm using scraps of acrylic taken off of another project that I do. I'll be making another video about the way I use acrylic to make traceable lap boards for kids. But I take the remnant of this sheet of acrylic that's 12 by 12 and I just snap off the really skinny pieces and use this thicker rectangle as a way to make these tags. So make sure you're always using your acrylic scraps. Now that it's laid out, I go into my GlowForge software and I upload my SVG file. Now, since the text and the label background are not the same color, I'm able to tell the software I want to engrave the names and cut the rectangle and the little circle at the top. Once that's done, I arrange the tags to fit onto the pieces of acrylic and I send it to cut. This project took 2 hours to cut and engrave, If you're making more, it's going to take longer than that, but just keep that in mind as you are setting your project up, that it's gonna take a while to be complete. But I think they came out really, really nice. The next and final step is to weed the protective paper that is on the acrylic off. And so I use a weeding tool. I bought this on Amazon. I'll have the link down below, and I'll also have the link for the acrylic down there as well. But I just gently use the weeding tool to take the corner of the protective paper off, and then I just kind of pull it off, and that's pretty much it. Once the paper starts coming off, I just use my fingers the rest of the way. You'll be able to see that in the letters there's still remnants of paper, but you take care of that at the very end. Right now I'm just also weeding the back, taking the protective paper off of the back side of the tag as well. You can see it's clear, but you can use any color acrylic you want to. You can also use paint inside the engraving lines. If you wanted, let's say, to do a white acrylic and then use black acrylic paint in the grooves of the engraving, it would really stand out really nicely. And so now I'm going to take the tweezers and the weeding tool and just take out those tiny little pieces that are inside the letters there. It's the most tedious part of the process, but it kind of flies by. You know, you turn on a movie, you turn on some music, and you just kind of zone out while you're doing it. You can also use the opposite end of this weeding tool for the really, really tiny pieces and just kind of scrape them off, and it actually won't scrape the acrylic if you're doing it gently enough. That's the main thing, to just be mindful of not scraping the acrylic. Now that all the weeding's done, you can see that it's beautifully engraved, it's crystal clear, and it's ready for whatever the occasion may be, whether it is going to be a tag in a rose garden or it's going to be a nameplate at a wedding. Whatever it might be, it's ready to go. That's it. It's a pretty simple project once you know how to set the files up and what to do. And it's absolutely something that you can offer in your online shops or stores. And people love personalized items. The fact that they can ask, for certain names or what have you, and you can turn this into a project that's all their own. It's incredible. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please subscribe and share this video, and let me know what else you'd like to see me make.